What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another edition of What the Hell Did I Just Read? I was emailed another Season 8 plot leak, but I have to admit, this one is much better than the last one I read to you. But I have to give a disclaimer because I don't know if any of this is real or not, but I did enjoy reading it nonetheless. Ever since the Season 7 plot leak was proven to be real, I was afraid everyone was going to make their own fake plot leaks and just pass them off as being real, since people may be more inclined to believing them since Season 7's plot leak was so accurate, even though it did sound ridiculous. So I kind of approached this one the same way. The plot leak that I am about to read to you does have a lot of things in it that sound very plausible, but it also has some things that sound just as crazy as trying to go capture a white. So with that in mind, I guess anything could happen next. Whoever posted this outline on Reddit apparently deleted their account shortly after that, which I thought was weird because that's what the same person did the last time, and theirs ended up being 99% accurate, so I figured what the hell, I'll give it a look, and I'll read it to everyone who wants to listen. If you don't give two shits about it, then hopefully you didn't click on this video, but to everyone else who likes to be entertained regardless, I hope you enjoy this because it is interesting to say the least. Let's just get right into it. Season 8, Episode 1. Tormund and Beric survive the attack on the Wall. Tormund rides to Winterfell to meet with Jon while Beric stays behind at the Wall. Cersei and Qyburn discuss ideas about how to defeat Daenerys and her dragons. Cersei orders Qyburn to mass-produce ballistas, and she also orders alchemists to make new pots of wildfire. They get interrupted by news of Euron arriving in King's Landing with the Golden Company. Jon and Daenerys arrive at Winterfell. Many northern lords are angry about Jon bending the knee to Daenerys, but Sansa and Arya give Jon their full support. Theon Greyjoy arrives at King's Landing to free Yara, who is imprisoned inside the Silence while Euron is greeting with Cersei and the Golden Company commander. Theon tries to free Yara, but he gets captured by Euron's men. Samuel Tarly reads a book about how to create Valyrian steel. The process requires dragon glass and dragon fire. Jon asks Gendry if he can make new Valyrian steel swords. Jon also asks Daenerys if one of her dragons can provide the fire. Daenerys agrees because she knows the importance of the situation. Qyburn begins to examine the remains of the dead white that was left at the dragon pit. Season 8, Episode 2. Bran tells Jon that he is a Targaryen named Aegon. He is the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, the heir to the Iron Throne. Jon says he has no desire to sit on the Iron Throne, and he also says Ned will always be his father. Jon decides not to tell Daenerys what Bran told him. Tyrion receives a letter from King's Landing. Cersei says she will be sending the Golden Company, who will be led by the Mountain. They will be coming to Winterfell to join the fight against the Army of the Dead. Jaime Lannister arrives at Winterfell to help join the fight against the Army of the Dead. Jon goes to Bran in the Godswood. He asks Bran if he can see the Night King the same way he did at the Wall. He wants to know the Night King's movements. Bran wargs into some crows and we follow them up north. The Night King and his army are approaching the last hearth. The castle is then completely overran by whites and is destroyed by the Night King and Viserion. Bran leaves the vision shaken up. He tells Jon what he just saw. Jon tells Gendry to make as many weapons as possible. They will need them soon. Cersei Lannister loses her baby due to a miscarriage. It further proves Maggie the Frog's prophecy. Cersei is utterly devastated by this, and what else the prophecy may have in store for her. The Golden Company begin to march to Winterfell, led by Sir Gregor Clegane. They have dozens of ballistas with them in their party. Bran Stark has a vision about the Isle of Faces at the God's Eye. He tells Jon that he needs to go there. Bran leaves for the God's Eye at the end of the episode. He is protected and carried by Northern soldiers. Season 8, Episode 3. This episode begins with a cold open. The first of many Valyrian steel swords is forged by Gendry. Daenerys wants to execute Jaime Lannister because he killed Daenerys' father, the Mad King. Tyrion intervenes and he tells Daenerys she will have to kill him too if she insists on killing his brother. But Jaime then reveals the real reason why he killed the Mad King. Now that Euron kept his promise by delivering the Golden Company, Cersei pays her debt by marrying Euron Greyjoy. She knows she can't afford to lose any alliances now that Jaime is gone. Daenerys realizes she is pregnant, but she decides not to tell Jon yet so that she can continue to help fighting. The Mountain arrives at Winterfell with the Golden Company. Arya kills the leader of the Golden Company and takes his face. With his face, Arya tries to kill the Mountain, who is still on her list. She fails and gets badly injured during the attack. The Hound steps in before Arya is killed. The Hound nearly wins the fight, but his regular steel sword does not kill the Mountain. In the last moment, the Hound takes Arya's Valyrian steel dagger off her hip. The Valyrian steel dagger kills the Mountain as Arya begins to pass out. A soldier of the Golden Company sneaks into Daenerys' tent outside of Winterfell. The soldier reveals that he is Daario Naharis, who joined the Golden Company to have the chance to come to Westeros. Daario warns Daenerys about Cersei's plan to have Daenerys and her dragons killed by the Golden Company and their ballistas. Bran arrives on the Isle of Faces and he tries to learn more about the creation of the White Walkers and a possible way to defeat them. He realizes he may be able to change time when he remembered his father heard him at the Tower of Joy. He comes to the conclusion that the only way to win this war is to go back in time and prevent the Night King from being created. Daenerys orders the Dothraki soldiers to kill all of the Golden Company since Daario revealed Cersei's true plan. Daenerys can't use her dragons to kill the Golden Company herself because of their ballistas. A battle breaks out, but the Dothraki are able to slaughter most of the Golden Company. Some of the men from the Golden Company capture Jaime Lannister and they ride off to White Harbor where some of Euron's fleet awaits them. They had orders to bring Jaime back to King's Landing alive. Arya Stark is still badly injured from her fight against the Mountain. The Maester at Winterfell tells Jon there is nothing he can do to prevent her from dying. Melisandre arrives in Winterfell from Volantis. Davos wants her executed immediately, but she promises she can save Arya. She remembers Arya from years ago. Jon allows her to help Arya, which she does, but Arya will not be able to help fight for quite some time. Jorah and Daario volunteer to ride through the night to King's Landing to try and free Jaime Lannister. Varys gives them plans about how they can enter the city through the tunnels under the city. Varys still has a copy of the map him and Tyrion used before the Battle of Blackwater Bay. The Golden Company arrive in King's Landing with Jaime. He is greeted by Euron Greyjoy, who then escorts Jaime into the Red Keep. Euron is told to leave, while Cersei tells Jaime that him being captured was a trap in hopes of luring Daenerys to King's Landing in case the first plan failed. Cersei plans on burning the entire city when they arrive. Jaime is disgusted by this revelation, so he grabs Cersei around the throat and strangles her to death. Euron then enters the room laughing and clapping. He has Jaime thrown into the black cells where Ned Stark was. Jorah and Daario arrive in King's Landing prepared to break Jaime Lannister free, but their escape mission fails. Euron has Daario killed immediately and he captures Jorah and he has him imprisoned in the black cells as well. Melisandre goes to Jon in Winterfell's courtyard. Melisandre tells Jon that while she was in Volantis, she saw something disturbing in the flames. She says she saw a boy wolf tied to a weirwood tree. She proceeds to tell Jon that this boy wolf is the Great Other's champion. She says his name is Brandon. Jon is enraged by what Melisandre is saying, so he sentences her to death. Melisandre asks for death by fire. She says it is the purest death. Daenerys obliges. Davos watches with Princess Shireen's burnt stag in his hand. Now that Cersei is dead, Euron declares himself King of the Seven Kingdoms with Qyburn as his hand. Euron has a letter prepared for Daenerys. Cersei is dead. He has Jorah, Jaime, Yara, and Theon as his prisoners. He wants Daenerys to come to King's Landing to be his new queen. If she declines, he promises to send Daenerys all of his prisoners' heads. Dany refuses his offer anyway. She vows to kill Euron and set them free. Season 8, Episode 5. Episode begins with Bran going back in time. He wargs into a man so that he can stop the Children of the Forest from creating the Night King. Bran wants to warn them about what they will cause, but they gag him and bound him to a tree. Bran realizes the man he warged into is the same man they turned into the Night King. Leaf begins to plunge the dragonglass into his chest. The Night King's necromancy powers are actually Bran's working powers, but even more powerful with the dragonglass in him. Bran can't manage to come back out of his vision. His eyes stay white now that he is stuck in the past. Euron brings his prisoners outside to the Sept of Baelor to begin his public executions. Euron has Yara burned alive with wildfire while Theon strangles himself to death trying to save her. This was the same thing the Mad King did to the Starks during Robert's Rebellion. Jorah Mormont is then beheaded. Euron sends his head to Daenerys. Jaime is forced to watch everything. Daenerys is infuriated when she finds out what Euron did. Against the advice of Jon and Tyrion, she flies with Drogon to King's Landing to kill Euron. After Daenerys has left for King's Landing, they receive word at Winterfell that the Night King has destroyed Carhold and he's likely heading to the Dreadfort or Winterfell next. Jon is distraught because Daenerys has now taken Drogon to King's Landing. He has Winterfell's defenses prepared, and every man, woman, and child armed with dragon glass and Valyrian steel weapons. Daenerys arrives over top of Blackwater Bay. She burns Euron's fleet immediately. She then flies over the Red Keep and starts burning everything in sight. Daenerys is mostly in a blind rage due to Jorah Mormont's death. She burns most of the city down until she starts to hear the screams of innocent people being burned alive. Suddenly, she seems to snap out of her rage, so she lands Drogon and is shocked by the destruction she has caused. Daenerys begins to walk through the Great Hall that is now completely destroyed. Snow begins to fall through the broken and burnt roof. Daenerys walks toward the Iron Throne that is now covered in snow. She reaches out to touch the thing she has wanted her whole life, but Drogon begins to scream outside of the Great Hall. Daenerys realizes how much snow is falling in King's Landing. The Night King must be getting closer. She flies back to Winterfell, realizing that hundreds of thousands may have died because of her. The last scene shows Euron leaving on an unmarked ship with Jaime and Qyburn. Euron knew Daenerys would be coming, so they hid underground at King's Landing with Jaime still in chains. Season 8, Episode 6. Daenerys arrives back in Winterfell at the beginning of the episode. Tyrion asks her what happened to his brother and Euron. Daenerys says they are all dead. Jon gathers all of the soldiers and their weapons to prepare them for the fight against the army of the dead. A snowstorm begins to come in over Winterfell. The army of the dead come with it, the Night King leading them on Viserion. Daenerys mounts Drogon to fight the Night King and Viserion. There is a dance of dragons over Winterfell, but Drogon's fire does not appear to hurt Viserion or the Night King. Viserion's blue flame hits Drogon and Dany. Daenerys is knocked off Drogon and begins to fall, but Drogon saves her by protecting her with his own body. The Night King lands to kill Daenerys, but Jon intervenes. He hits him with Longclaw, but it does not affect him. Rhaegal lands to protect them both. Jon mounts Rhaegal with Daenerys, who is now unconscious from the fall. The Night King kills Drogon with Viserion's blue flame. Jon uses Rhaegal to burn Drogon's dead body, so the Night King can't raise him as well. Jon lands Rhaegal so he can save Sansa, Arya, Tyrion, and some others before Winterfell is overrun with whites. With everyone now on Rhaegal, Jon flees Winterfell and heads toward the God's Eye where Bran said he was going. As they escape on Rhaegal, Sansa looks back and begins to cry as she witnesses the Night King destroying Winterfell with Viserion, and all the Whites and White Walkers slaughtering their men. The Night King and White Walkers then head for the crypts of Winterfell where all the dead kings of winter lay. The Night King places his hand on the ground and all the statues begin to rumble and crack. Behind some of the statues, all you can see are eyes of ice that begin to glow in the darkness. Tormund, Grey Worm, the Hound, and most of the other men stayed behind to fight the army of the dead while Jon and the others escaped on Rhaegal. They all die as they try to defend Winterfell from the dead. As they approach the God's Eye on Rhaegal, they spot Bran laying on the ground next to a weirwood tree. Jon lands Rhaegal and Daenerys awakens in pain as she is going into labor very early. Jon has no idea because Daenerys did not tell him, nor could he tell with Daenerys' heavy clothing on. Daenerys is very weakened by the fall and giving birth. She knows she is not going to survive. She then gives birth to a premature baby girl. She whispers to Jon that she wants the baby to be called Lyanna, after the woman her brother died for. Jon tells Daenerys that was his mother's name right as she begins to die. After Daenerys dies, Jon takes the baby and carries her over to where Bran is. It appears that Bran is still in a vision, but when Jon looks into Bran's eyes, they are blue like the Night King's instead of white. As Jon is looking at Bran, wondering what is happening, a storm begins to roll over the God's Eye. The Night King has arrived on Viserion. Jon mounts Rhaegal and meets the Night King in the sky. The dance of dragons begin over the God's Eye. Rhaegal and Viserion begin to shoot flames so close to each other that Jon can feel the blue flame. For a moment, Jon and the Night King share another look, and Jon notices the Night King's eyes are exactly like Bran's are now. Rhaegal's fire does nothing to Viserion or the Night King. Jon knows in order to kill the Night King, he is going to have to kill his brother Bran. Jon begins to cry as he lands the dragon near Bran's body. Jon climbs off Rhaegal and unsheathes his sword Longclaw. As Jon is doing this, the Night King is circling back toward him on Viserion. For a moment, Jon contemplates if this is the right thing to do or not, but he then sees the Night King coming right for him, so he plunges Longclaw into Bran's heart, and the sword catches on fire and begins to glow red. When Jon does this, the Night King and Viserion simultaneously explode into 1,000 pieces of ice, like the White Walkers did when he had killed them before. The screen will then go black for a moment. The next and final scene will be months later. There will be a shot of King's Landing completely destroyed, but being repaired. There will be a shot of castles in the north completely destroyed, but being rebuilt. Then finally, a shot of Winterfell. Almost all of the snow is now melted away. Jon is holding baby Lyanna, and he's with Sansa, Arya, Tyrion, Davos, Gendry, Brienne, and a few others. Jon is now the king of the Seven Kingdoms, but he tells everyone there will no longer be one king for 7 kingdoms. Each kingdom will be independent. Gendry is legitimized and given Storm's End. Tyrion is given Casterly Rock. Sansa is given Winterfell, and Brienne is given High Garden. Arya says she doesn't want a castle. She says she's going west. This makes Jon smile. Jon says he has somewhere he wants to go too. He wants Lyanna to see Ned and his mother. Jon and baby Lyanna head for the crypts of Winterfell. Most of the statues are still destroyed, but repairs are being made. Jon stops in front of Lyanna's cracked statue, and inside he sees a harp. With baby Lyanna in his arms, Jon has a smile on his face and a tear in his eye. He sits down and begins to pluck at the strings, and he sings Lyanna a song as the episode ends. Euron Greyjoy and Jaime Lannister are never heard from again. They are presumably dead.